We are back with our Planning Commission request, and we have Doug with us today. Doug, it's good to see you. We also have Councilman Cooper in the back. Thank you for joining us. He is the chair of the Budget Committee for Metro Council. I know you brought a couple of folks with you. I'll let you take a moment and introduce them in a second. I do want to just remind the viewers who are at home watching that we are more likely to hear requests for funds over the next few days than we have revenue for. So we're going to have a lot of requests and probably not as much revenue as we need to support all the requests. So I just want to make sure that the viewers at home know that we will be identifying the requests that come through and making sure that we're allocating the dollars in accordance with the best outcomes for Nashville taxpayers. So with that in mind, I'm sure you have a funding request. Doug Sloan, please introduce who you have with you.
To my left, I have Greg Atkins. He's the chairman for the commission.
Nice to see you, Greg.
Nice to see you, man.
To my right is Bob Lehman. Bob is the deputy director.
Yes.
George Rooker, who is our CFO, special projects, seems to be juggling about 4 or 5 hats right now for us. And Jeffrey Leach is our finance officer.
Back there?
Is sitting in the back. And Jeffrey keeps up with all the day-to-day finances for us. The first thing I want to do is just obviously tell you what our current budget is, and it's $4.5 million today, or for the last fiscal year. We have a special purpose fund that's made up of grants and is also revenues from mapping and GIS, and there's an advanced planning fund, which I know Talia is certainly familiar with. It's in our charter, but it's $50,000 that's always put towards that every year. And so that makes up our special purpose funds. We have 44 FTEs during this last fiscal cycle. And then we also house the Metro Planning Organization. Now, they aren't funded from the general fund. That's an organization that is funded through federal and state dollars and dues that are paid by all the local governments that are part of the MPO. The MPO has just under 15 and a half, and operating budget is 3.7. But I do want to again point out that that's not really
They're separate. They are not. We do not fund them. Right.
We house them.
We house them, and that is not an insignificant gift.
It is not. It is not. Especially when we are so strapped for space.
Sure.
But I will tell you that it's a large advantage to have them right down the hallway when we're talking about transportation needs and talking about how we do transportation in a regional way, to have them located nearby. Our operating budget requests, we have 10 total FTEs that we're asking for. Most of our budget requests are in new employees. We have some capital requests that we're going to ask for as well. I'm going to run through them real quickly and then talk a little bit more about the priorities of them. Our Community Plans Division, we're asking for 3 FTEs. Division
and Doug, when you talk about those community plans, those FTEs, who would they benefit? Who would they assist? What's the opportunity for those 3 FTEs?
Well, let me say that one reason that the Community Plans Division does most of our public outreach, and they also manage our land use policies. But the community outreach is probably the single largest thing that takes up their time. And in the recent years, we started working a lot closer with our other departments and other organizations, whether that's In Motion or Plan to Play, or even water services as they do public outreach. Because we have, through Nashville Next, built such a great network in the community of contacts to reach out to. And we think we found a way to really capture what the community has to say about various projects. So we've become a lot more integrated with the other departments and how they do community outreach. But it's also our land use policies, and whether we're talking about Whites Creek, where there's a strong community desire to stay rural, or whether it's the challenges that we're being faced in our urban area and how do you introduce neighborhoods into what's already a very dense environment, or growth along our corridors, preservation of our neighborhoods, all those issues that we struggle with. Community plans really plays a major leading role in that. One of our biggest problems is, however, over the last year, we've lost, in 2 people, we've lost 40 years of experience.
Right.
And so it's a very young division. Our land development division is also, which I'll get to in a moment, is also extraordinarily young. One of the things that's challenged us in the growth of our city is that our folks that work in community plans and in land development have become very sought after. They understand the policies, land use policies, they understand the procedures in land development, and so they're targeted quite a bit. And again, their just ability to stand up and do public speaking and to reach out to the community, they've become very desired. So with my senior division manager for community plans, Wednesday is her last day. Catherine Withers leaves us on Wednesday.
Okay.
And right now she's managing both community plans and design studio. We looked at, after talking to her, do an exit interview with her, we realized that one of the things she said she struggled with was, because she manages 12 people right now, being able to be involved in each one of the projects that the people under her are working on. And because of their youth and, frankly, inexperience, it's really important for that division manager to have a more immediate role. So one of the things that we are asking for, and it's actually the #1 item we have listed, is to create 2 division managers, one for design studios and one for community plans, so that that experience can be felt at a more direct level with projects that the people working in those divisions are working on.
And would elevating those positions to a division head, do you think that would help us with retention?
I do. So everyone that we've hired recently in both of those divisions have had master's degrees.
Right.
These are people who've put an extraordinary amount of time in their education to be city planners. It's what they desire to do. They have a passion for it. And if you elevate them to a point where they're managing 12 people or more,
right,
they're not getting to do what their passion is. And that was something I learned through that exit interview with her. And so I think that it will help with retention in division managers by allowing them to do what they're passionate about. So that's our first community plans request and our #1 item on our budget. The other 2 positions are a bicycle planner and a pedestrian planner. As we continue with the mayor's executive order regarding complete streets, as we continue to try and build out our infrastructure for our bike lanes and our sidewalk networks, we're having obviously more and more interactions with the development community, with the neighborhoods, with the business community, and making sure that all the developments plug into the major and collector street plan is important. But it's quite a bit of work, and so that's what the other 2 community plans folks are designed to do. Also, the other thing that we have is in our transportation. Well, before I leave that, I want to go back to land development, which we're actually asking for 2 people in land development. And what land development does is they actually review the plans that are submitted. So,
and I hear all the time that because of the volume of plans that are submitted, we are woefully understaffed in the ability to turn those plans around. So would this help with that?
It would help with that. That's what it would go directly to.
Good.
And I would also point out that it's not just the sheer number of projects that's important, but our community today expects a different level of review. They want specific plan zoning districts. They want historic overlays. Sometimes those can be in the downtown code or in redevelopment districts. But when you start to layer those regulations, it takes a level of sophistication to review a project that we just haven't seen in the past.
Is there a software component that can also overlay all of those pieces so that the community has a better idea of what the pieces are when they're looking at property?
You can, we already have in place our current system to be able to look at our layers, our GIS mapping system that you're able to access, that's open to the public to be able to access. You can already see those layers. But in some places, I would admit that it'd be very difficult to understand how all those regulations interact. To be able to do redevelopment and historic overlay where you want to do an SP, the specific plan zoning district alone takes a lot of just direct interaction.
Right.
Because we'll require a community meeting to go out and understand what that very unique piece of property, how it interacts with the public, the community that exists, and so how do we allow the development for it that reaches a lot of our objectives that we lay out in Nashville Next, but is also still sensitive to the existing community there.
So the assessor earlier asked for a significant capital investment for software that would help with the assessment process. It sounds like you all have a software potentially that it would be maybe helpful if the two could actually speak to each other?
Absolutely, and there's another place in here where we're actually saving some funds in the special purpose fund. That's being reduced by $317,700 this year.
Okay.
And one of the reasons a large portion of that reduction is because now we're working with the assessor's office
Great.
to do our aerials every other year.
Okay, good.
In the
So
past,
that's good. Thank you.
we would have aerials do different things for different purposes, and we were able to get with one vendor to do a flyover to do both purposes so that we're splitting those costs
Good.
now.
Okay.
So we absolutely reach out to the assessor's office and make sure that everything that we're doing helps. And one of the things that we are, and I think one of our capital requests under GIS and mapping, we're continuing to develop software, 3D software, and we hope to integrate that with our.
I've seen it. It's very cool.
It is very cool. And what we want to be able to do is for folks to be able to bring up parcels and be able to see the massing that would be
Yeah.
permitted on a piece
Right.
of
It's
property.
very
So
cool.
that they understand, even before it's developed, what are the entitlements?
Right.
What do they look like on the ground? And so the GIS and mapping FTE that we're asking for is to try and help us with that.
Do you
as
have to have
well.
the special glasses to do that?
We're going to try to make it so you don't have to have special glasses, unless you want to walk through it three-dimensionally, and then,
Then
yes,
you
you have to have those, the virtual reality glasses. So, land development, to point out what we talked about just a moment ago, there are 13 people in land development. My two senior people have just over 2 years apiece in that division. My next one has I have two more people that have just over 1 year, and 9 of them have less than a year. I don't know. I think that demonstrates it about as clearly as I possibly can, the level of turnover that we've seen. And I know that in last year's budget, I talked about trying to come up with portable benefits. It's something else to offer to new employees, especially young employees right out of college. John Kenny's been great to work with. John Kenny's a great example of when you keep somebody around for a long time, the level of
Right.
knowledge that they build
Sure.
up. And he's made other suggestions that we might
Great.
do. So we're going to continue to try and find incentives, especially at the 3 to 4 year mark, to try and keep employees on for longer. One of the other, and I'll get to it in capital budget requests, but when we get to that, we want to essentially remodel our offices. There hasn't been a complete remodel in over a decade. And when you walk through some of the architecture firms and engineering firms, and you see what the work environment for the folks who are doing things that are very similar to the people in our office, it's more open, a lot more collaborative spaces that are developed, so for breakout areas, for work groups. Also, as we continue to integrate more and more with Public Works, and we're having a lot of our employees work back and forth between the two offices, having some space where they can come in and land temporarily within our office, we think would be real advantageous. And we want to sit down and put together a plan to re-envision what the office space looks like and see if we can use it in a more efficient way, in a more attractive way if people want to work there. Which brings me back to the operating budget and the Division of Transportation. We've asked for 4 FTEs there, a planning manager 1, planner 3, a planner 1, and an engineer 1. And this is really to focus in on our multimodal planning with Public Works that we're working closely with. I do want to take a minute to also say that we've been working more with Public Works than we ever have before. And the time that we're spending together has helped us both integrate the teams, but also specialize in some of the areas. And so there's a group of Public Works employees and a group of the Planning Department that are working on these multimodal issues together. And I think we're doing a great job of coming up with better plans for our sidewalk and our bikeways because of it.
Good, thank you.
I've been, as Rich would probably be quick to point out, so I'll go ahead and do it. Off and on, I've been with Metro for 20 years, and as you well know, used to be the attorney for both of those departments, and I've never seen them collaborating this well together. So, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Mark Sturtevant. He's been great to work with.
Well, a testament to both of you, actually, to find the synergies between the two departments and actually figure out that it's better for Metro taxpayers if you all are collaborating. A repetition of activity doesn't have to happen, and you can be better. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Then the general administrative operational needs. We are asking for additional funding to offset the price increases for existing maintenance fees and additional hardware and software that we have. Also, funding for our membership in NACTO. And a lot of as I said, everyone that we've hired in our land development and our community plans and in design studios all have graduate degrees, and often they have associations that they're required to be members of.
Yep.
And so there are fees that go along with that membership as well. Moving back over into capital budget requests, I mentioned this earlier, there's office space reallocation and update. That's a large number, I realize that. It's $1 million. Worked with General Services to ask, what would it take to do what I described a moment ago, and that was the number that we were given. And we'd have a clearer picture once we're able to sit down and look at plans and put together a design. We'd have a better picture of what that number actually looks like. Community design projects. We have received accolades over what we did down on Broadway, where we showed what that space could look like if we used the parking lanes as additional sidewalk space and places for people to be able to sit down and enjoy having something to eat, but also just get some shade. That really was received well, but what we would like to do is go out and do it in the rest of the community. Go out and do it in North Nashville and Madison and Donaldson and Clarksville. We see opportunities. Our city's made up of a lot of small villages, and we think that within those villages there's a lot of opportunities to create spaces, rethink or reinvent the spaces that we have in those villages. And so the $500,000 that we're asking for is to do those projects throughout the year, like we did with the Civic Design Center and Gale Studios. And we want to continue to work with the Civic Design Center to do that. They've been a great partner for us in community design projects. Open space study. We're asking for $300,000 for an open space study. As we continue to see intense growth in some of our already dense areas, we need to think about how we preserve open space. And
are you working with parks on that?
We are. We're working with parks on that. We're also working with Public Works on that, because sometimes it's connecting the open spaces that we have and doing it in a pedestrian-friendly environment or manner so that the sidewalks are wider, and we've got bike lanes that connect those open spaces is important. So that's what we're. Sobro is a fast-growing area, and places like that, if we don't get ahead of that curve and start to think about that on the front end, then we can lose all the space, and it becomes a lot more expensive down the road if we don't strategically think about how we preserve that. One of the things that, moving into policy just for a quick second, but one of the things that we do hope to address this next year is the potential for producing an in lieu fund instead of a requirement for open space in new development, especially in our more dense neighborhoods, because what we're getting are small pieces of open space that work more like small little courtyards, not something that's functioning as an open space for the community in that area. And if we can sit down with the development community, sit down with the property owners in some of those areas and talk about a policy that might create meaningful open space, and do it through an in lieu fund instead of just small plaza type areas, we think that'd be a bigger benefit to the community at large.
So two projects that recently we've had, the Capitol View, where we ended up with a piece of parcel over there that gave us some open space, correct?
Right.
And then the conversation with Ryman where we were just given a new parcel out there with that's going to connect some of our green space. So I think those are really
Exactly, and we try to
good
progress that
opportunities.
conversation more and more, especially in our larger developments where there's possibly an opportunity to add to the greenway, which is what
Right.
happened over in Capitol View.
yeah.
I do also want to tell you that a couple of special topics that I wanted to go over.
Okay.
One is last year we increased our FTEs by 4. I want to thank you for that. That's we haven't seen that sort of increase in over a decade.
How many?
4. We increased it by 4 last
Good.
year,
Okay.
and that was a significant increase, and we truly appreciate it. And we've certainly put those positions to work. One was for the grants program, and the grants. The person that we hired that works actually in our the CIB division. She has been able to get us 2 grants awards this last year that totaled over $1.2 million.
That's great.
That's
And what
fantastic.
were you able to use that for?
So the first one was Our Town, which was social practice art and Maker District,
Yep, yep.
and working in that. And then the other one was our CMAQ grant, which is the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Grant, and that was the 1.1 million, just over 1.1 million in that. And those positions will help us to continue to reach out to the community, and we reach out with businesses about trying to get shared rides, trying to get businesses to offer up MTA cards, and doing some other things to try and cut down on the traffic as best we can.
That's amazing. Erin is back there, and Erin is nodding her head very positively about
She's raising the roof back there over the CMAQ.
Pretty
grant.
much.
Tells me that you've been at planning too long now that you know what all those initials mean.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I have it written down right here.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have 3 grants pending for this year, equaling $763,000 right now. There's a federal lands access program where we're trying to tie together Highway 100 and the Trace over there with some other federal properties
Great.
that we have in our county. We have a Safe Routes to School program
Yep.
that we're working on. And then Heart of the Community, which is a placemaking around the MTA Plaza. So those are 3 grants that we're currently trying to finalize, and we've submitted 5 more grants that we should see results of, or see whether we're going to be granted those by the end of FY17. And depending on how much we receive, it's grants between $1.5 million and $6.5 million.
Great.
So, and those, just real quickly, are resilient communities, which I know is near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
Active transportation program, transit-oriented development planning pilot, and mobility on demand sandbox and tourism enhancement grants. And so that's a lot of different areas. And again, this is the one grants program employee that we were able to add to our CIB
great.
that we think she's just doing a fantastic job for us. Then, of course, we've got our capital
Yep,
planning,
let's talk about your
PIP.
capital.
Do pips here.
Well,
This is a status report.
yeah, I'm just saying where we are on the capital improvements budget. We did it as a PIP because we were coordinating in a way we've never done before between the finance department and the planning department to get information out to all the departments and gather their information in a new way. And I hope that you've seen in the budget information that our departments have been able to supply to you a more comprehensive and I think easily digestible
Yep.
format. So the departments have been fantastic in working with us. So finance and the planning department have worked very closely for about 2 years on this, trying to move it from something that was just an
Yeah.
itemized list and numbers to some.
Appreciate it.
Well, and what we wanted to do, our goal, Talia and I, when we started talking about this 2 years ago, was to supply the administration and the council with better information
Yeah.
to be able to make decisions. And so we hope that the format that you're seeing it in today
Yep.
achieves that, but we really have higher expectations of ourselves and how this report's done over the next couple
Great.
of years.
Good. I think it's a marked improvement, so thank you.
Well, and I'll be honest with you again, being with Metro as long as I have, how much all the other departments have embraced this process.
Good.
I think it's helped them to see it in this transparent
Yep.
way. And today, this year's CIB will really mirror what all of the departments are sending to us. But in next year, we hope to prioritize them and actually give them to you in a way where they have scoring. And it will start in a more broad scoring manner where they're in groups, and we'll see if we're able to in the next, the
But that's
year
not
after
this year,
that.
that's next
That's
year.
not this year, that's next year, as we continue to refine that.
But I would add that because of that process, it's going to allow the departments to come in here to these meetings and talk to you about these capital projects in a more meaningful way.
Yep.
Versus in past years with these kind of wish list items. So the things that departments will be bringing to these budget discussions with you will be much more meaningful to for the community to hear about real projects now.
And-
Things that are in the queue.
And we're also reaching out, we spent some time with Council Lady Weiner about the council wants to have a more informative and robust debate over what the different council members are suggesting being added into the CIB. And so we're working closely with her to try and develop a process this fall to allow one for the time, and not be caught in the budget crunch that everybody gets caught in the spring, but also the information for them to be able to look at and analyze and prioritize their own budget items, capital improvement budget items. And so she's been great to work with on that.
And then also, just to note, it also is a long-term strategy issue as well. So you can see goals, you can see kind of short-term CIB, long-term CIB, something that we haven't had in a long time. And don't forget, it's in the original charter that we do this. So it's an important thing, I think, for the city from a short-term perspective and really, ongoing strategy, Mayor. So,
Well, Greg, as both of us are former council members, we appreciate that any of that information that can be put into a way that's easier for council members to look at it.
well, and also I think other departments are looking through all of it and they're
Yep.
saying, oh, well, we can coordinate here,
Exactly,
we
which
can
is the
coordinate
better-
here, and we're doing this.
Yep.
And so it's really led to greater coordination. And I want to say thank you to both, our director, but also finance,
Yeah.
because a lot of times it was not that easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't Rich's fault, but it was one of those things where we, it was important. And on the council, you didn't really have a long strategy kind of document to look forward. So thank you for,
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate y'all doing that for me personally.
Rich? Tyler?
Do you want to talk about your little revenue bump?
Revenue increases?
Yeah, you've got a little bit in there. Revenue is always makes me happy.
Okay. The finance director, we budgeted 1.5 million, and we came in, our actual right now is at 1.7. So that's a 13.5% over projected performance. Now, I'll be honest, I actually try to get our projection really, really close, and so I'm not happy with 13.5, and I hope we can be more accurate in what we project over the next year. But really, we actually we think that we're going to see the same rate of increase, and so our projection for
Is gonna be
18 is really based on the last 2 years. We've seen a fairly steady increase, increase in revenues, but at the same rate.
Got it.
So.
The only other thing I thought might be worth mentioning just really quickly is there's been some chatter about a special census.
Oh, okay.
Can you just touch on that for
Well,
a couple
I'll tell you
minutes?
what, I am going to pass that off to the expert on, as I said, special projects. He gets to catch an awful lot of things.
Yeah.
So George
There's
has
just been like a
caught.
chatter.
Well, why don't you talk first about what it is, so
What
that
it
the
is.
people at the viewing audience at home know what it is and why it would be important for Nashville to have it.
Yes, the state of Tennessee, allows counties and municipalities to update their population count between the regular census, that every 10-year census that the Federal Census Bureau does. The many cities in Middle Tennessee are growing at a much more rapid rate than cities in other parts of the state, and there have been a lot of cities like Hendersonville and Gallatin and Goodlettsville and places in Franklin and places around Nashville that have chosen to do special census programs, which updates their population numbers for the state of Tennessee, which in turn increases their per capita distribution of state shared revenue. So they can increase the amount of revenue that they receive from the state as a result of that. Most of these census programs have been done in smaller jurisdictions, and from talking to experts that are involved in those programs, it's a less complicated a program to conduct in an area where you have a smaller population and a less diverse housing type. So you may not have as many multifamily units, you may not have as many transient residents, you don't have as many universities with dormitories, things like that. There's a lot of issues in in larger jurisdictions that make it more complicated and perhaps more costly. So there's an opportunity to generate quite a bit of additional revenue in terms of state shared revenue by updating our census numbers, and there's also going to be a pretty significant cost associated with conducting a special census program. We've been working with finance to determine exactly how those state share dollars come in geographically for the county and where the population needs to be counted, first of all, to give us the greatest advantage in terms of revenue increases from a special census program. So we're looking at it, we're working on it, and we hope to have some hard, definitive information for you soon.
And just because of the timing with everything, with the administration change and everything, because that has an impact. You may want to speak to that, but
yes,
you won't see a specific proposal in here, but I wanted the listening audience to know that we are reviewing that.
There is, initially, when we began the discussions about doing a special census program, we believed that we could rely on the Federal Census Bureau to conduct that census for us, and we're in the process of submitting a cost estimate to them, but because of the change in the administration at the federal level and because of the federal hiring freeze, there's a chance that there may be, the Census Bureau may not be able to conduct that program for us, which means that, doesn't mean we can't conduct the program, it just means that we'll have to find either do it in-house or do it through a contractor. We'll have to find the right mix of resources to apply to that project.
And the benefit to us is if we can actually show an increase in our numbers, that we will have a greater share of the state revenue. So really the cost benefit analysis is how much is it going to cost us to do it versus how much we're actually going to gain.
Exactly.
Right,
So-
and in all scenarios that we've run, it's a significantly higher amount of revenue than cost.
Than cost.
So yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Okay, I just want to.
Yeah.
Mayor, one thing I did want to point out, especially for the finance director and Rich and you, was I asked, Doug did not ask me to do this, but I asked him to gather information to look at some of our peer cities to kind of see where we are. And so if you look at Charlotte, they have 59 planning positions. You look at Austin, they have 59 positions. We have, what do we have, Doug? 44 positions. And back in 1975, we had 60 people in the planning department. So, as you consider the budget, this is a real truth. And then back to the retention piece, is we are really, really having problems retaining our employees. And I don't want to tell anybody how to do their jobs, but if we don't keep pace with the private sector in the planning division, especially with advanced degree folks, it's going to be continual turnover, and we can't be that award-winning department that we want to be in and do advanced planning without retention and more employees. So I just want to say thank you for, and it's not like we haven't gotten increases. We have. But I still feel like since we are probably arguably one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, that we definitely need some help on the planning side. So just want to say that as an overall discussion point. He did not. So he didn't plan Rich. He did not plan that.
Any other questions? Right, I know.
Did the camera get
I've raised 3 children, so I know this concept.
Appreciate it.
So with no further questions, just want to say that I appreciate that Council Member Vercher has joined us. I know she was here for the majority of this. And it's always great to see John Stern with us from always looking out for neighborhoods. So John, great to have you back in the audience there. Thanks. Anything else?
There was one
go
thing
ahead.
that also good news is that we're working closely with schools right now, and that we haven't had a chance to do that in the past. So that's been fantastic, and a lot of our employees, one of the things they are finding a lot of pleasure in is going into the classrooms and doing lesson plans with the teachers, and so that's been a real positive.
Oh, great, good,
So,
good,
that's
good.
it.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank
you,
Appreciate
Mayor. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Now we have a break for quite a while.